What's going on, my beautiful people from YouTube? Let me tell you what's going on with the Kadena blockchain. There's always FUD, doesn't matter what blockchain you go to, but Kadena recently has been facing a little bit more scrutiny, and it's because people don't fully understand everything that happens in the blockchain. And I am doing something a little bit crazy today. I actually sat down with Sterling, which a lot of you know has been coding Impact for a lot of different projects in the Kadena ecosystem. And I just want you guys to understand that this conversation was not planned. I had some people ask me if I, wrote things down or I planned what I was going to say. No, I didn't at all. I want you to be able to hear the perspective of someone who is, for lack of a better word, salty in regards to this blockchain. And you might think like, whoa, Action, what is the deal? Like, I thought you loved Kadena. Aren't you going to start mining Kadena with, fraction mining? Yes, that's coming. That's the next phase. I think that the best way for people to understand the pitfalls of a blockchain is not to run away from them, but to face them head on and have engaging conversations. I will say that Sterling has a very strong opinion. And if you do end up watching this video until the very end, you're going to see what I am actually able to communicate with him. Sterling, I'm sorry if I was rude to you. That was not the goal. Like you said yourself in the interview, you enjoy challenges, and the reason why I said the things I said, why I called you what I called you, is because I think you can be better. You can be much more well-versed in what's going on in the entire blockchain, space, and learn how to not burn bridges, even if you don't think you're burning them or you're not trying to burn them. I think that you have a ton of potential. Like I said it to your face, and I appreciate you reaching back out after we chatted online. Yeah, I'm just gonna let you guys listen in. It was just a candid conversation. Like I said, the flow of this thing is gonna be, I will let you guys know who he is. We're gonna talk about things he said. Then I will ultimately allow you to have a piece of my mind. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy it on this weekend, and yeah, this should be fun. Hey.
Hello, Action. What's up?
Hello, bro. What was your space about early on?
It was, I guess the three topics I hit was, one, I said I was not going to do a denial of service attack on Kadena Chain 1 because apparently that's a criminal offense. I had no idea DOSing a public blockchain was a criminal offense if it was a possible thing to do. So that's learning, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not a criminal. I haven't, to my knowledge, in my life, done any federal crimes.
That could have been bad.
Yeah, so got to thank Will Martino for calling me out there. That was great. I also realized that the vulnerability that I thought was there, they fixed it back in April. I just had kind of...
It's been a year since they took care of that one.
Yeah. So
cool.
It just seems like it's still there, but it's not. It's
awesome.
You can denial of service yourself, but you can't denial of service other people.
So ultimately, it wouldn't even worked if you would have tried.
I tested it this morning on testnet, and just tried submitting transactions, different things to try and get it to perform how I thought it might, and it never did. So effectively, they are doing what I felt, or it's executing blocks in the way I feel it should. So it's good to go.
But you didn't think it was set up that way at first?
I didn't. I had multiple other developers who had told me that it was still working incorrectly, and in my own personal micro tests, right, I had found that it was also possible to at least denial of service myself, right?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
You're going to clog up your connection. Doing a denial of service attack by yourself is not an easy feat. I mean, your bandwidth has to be in, not only bandwidth, but your processing power has to be pretty, gnarly for you to be able to do something like that.
Well, the denial of service is actually based on a block reservation and how gas limit works.
Okay.
So before April, when you would submit a transaction to Kadena, well, even now, right, you set a gas limit. You say, this is how much gas I'm willing to pay, and I won't pay more than that. And what it seemed like what was happening is that it was using the gas limit to reserve that much gas in the block. So I, as the developer, have complete control over how much gas is reserved for my transaction in a block.
Sure.
So even if my transaction only costs like 250 gas, I can still take,
crank it up.
Yeah, I can take 150,000. That's what it seemed like was happening, but it's not the case. And before April, you could do that, but you can no longer do it. So it wasn't I don't have to send a ton of messages. I just have to send one message every 30 seconds that has 150,000 gas, and it would have clogged up the entire chain before April of last year.
Right. Yeah, I think things were a little shaky as far as gas limits were concerned back then. That was a little messy. I was actually working with two different projects when it came to how, those transactions were taking place. But let me kick it off and just try to get people to understand, first off, where you came from. Like, who are you?
I'm a chief chump, I guess. Where did I come from?
Like, how did you get it? How did you get into the Kadena blockchain as far as being a dev? Like, what led you to be here in the first place? Like, did you go to school and learn something, then all of a sudden went, oh, this is a pretty cool thing, I should check it out? Like, what happened there?
Honestly, I can't remember how I found Kadena. There isn't a single instance where I was like, Alex, that's awesome. I was researching blockchains for a project I was working on at the time called Vitals. And the goal of Vitals was to effectively create a ledger for your health so that you own all of your data, and provably so, via blockchain, right? So all of your data would be an NFT and would store, your information would be stored either centralized or decentralized, doesn't really matter. It would just be yours, and you could prove that you own it, and people wouldn't be able to access it, manipulate it, add to it, etc., without your express permission. So I was working on Vitals, and we were trying to find a blockchain that could support our vision of where we saw this could go, which would be, like, people go do health things all the time, and we would love for people to record their health on a daily basis. It's like I have like a blood pressure monitor, for example, that I was working on integrating with the app, and some glucometers and pulse oximeters that are somewhere around. But so I was working on that, and we were looking for a blockchain that could handle the hundreds of thousands of transactions per day that you would kind of need to handle. The conclusion is you probably want to make your own blockchain specifically for this purpose. Or find a really, really insanely fast proof of stake one. I don't know. There's lots of options. There's lots of solutions to the problem of we need lots of throughput. Cheapest option just being Web 2, but that kind of defeats the purpose. Back to it. We were looking for a chain that could handle all these transactions for really cheap, right? And Kadena obviously kind of came to the forefront of that as insanely cheap as far as transaction costs go, and you can do tons of transactions. I was kind of brought in. The initial thing I saw was the 480,000 transactions per second.
Yeah,
and obviously that's a dream or a goal with Kuro, and is no longer feasible with the current state of Kadena. But I was like, okay, these guys can do it. And the gas fees that I'm seeing, like, they can do it. And so why I stuck with Kadena, is because I saw these.
When was that?
When was that? That was probably, I left my job like 8 months ago. I left working on that like 8 months ago, decided to detach myself. I would say it was probably a year to a year and a half ago is when I was working on Vitals and trying to find the blockchain that would support all of these transactions and things like this.
Okay, so you stuck. So was Vitals ever? Did they ever go anywhere, do anything, pick a blockchain?
In the end, no. We decided to focus more on our they decided to focus on the B2B side of things as opposed to like the B2C. And the Vitals initiative was purely like we are selling products to consumers and the consumers can use those. So just a financial decision. They decided to kind of axe the idea. I still think it's an amazing idea personally.
Sure. I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, but here's a problem. Just from the little bit that you told me, I get why they chose to focus on businesses because that's way more profitable.
Yeah.
And secondly, creating something new, especially on the blockchain space, is not easy and it's not cheap because it takes time, right? Like that's kind of where we all are as far as the blockchain goes. We're trying to figure out what applications make the most sense to be built on these platforms.
Yep.
And I have my own opinion, but I want to know from you, do you think there are things that should not be on the blockchain, or do you think that everything is, at the end of the day, blockchainable? Yes, I just made up a verb.
That's a good question.
I'm going to use that little SpongeBob cartoon that says 5 minutes later.
Yeah. Perfect. I would say yes, everything is blockchainable, but I wouldn't call it a blockchain. I think everything is distributed ledgerable.
Okay.
And let me kind of define what I mean with that.
But before you define that, so here's an easy way for everyday people to understand it. Are you saying that everything can or everything should?
A good question. No, I don't think everything should.
Okay.
I believe that in certain circumstances, it's totally fine to work with a centralized service. And I believe that in other circumstances, leveraging the power that comes from trustless interactions is going to be very important. And I think that each project needs to determine where their priorities are. If they need trustless interaction, like the transaction of tokens, and they want to have like an economy based on this transaction of tokens, leveraging Web3 for that is a very simple and powerful use case. If you don't need those trustless interactions, and it's like we are a gaming company and we release our NFTs and you can transact them between yourselves, but we reserve the right, obviously, to, update graphics. So your NFT isn't necessarily attached to, it's more attached to data as opposed to an image. And in those contexts, it's like, it's not a trustless, like the asset itself isn't trustless. And if the game dies, if nobody plays it, obviously, then that's just another economic question. It's like your NFTs, all these things are only valuable. Your game itself, even in a Web 2 scenario, is only valuable if people play it. So I think it just kind of, the questions that need to be answered are, do I care about trustless interaction? Do I want to create this economy where people can buy and sell with my token? Do I want to deal with kind of the legal fallout of that? Yeah. Or do I just want to create a simple in-game currency that they can use and they can pay me for that currency and I just give it to them, right? So there's a lot of cool things you can create with Web3 that just simply weren't possible before in Web 2 through those trustless interactions, but I'm not going to say that everyone should do that.
All right. So with that in mind, we'll just finish up your last company that you were talking about. Do you think that they should do everything on a blockchain? Do you think that that was a good way of going about it, or no?
I believe that your health data should be interacted with in a trustless manner, yes. I do not think that other people should have access to my data and the ability to sell my information to make themselves a profit. I believe that I should be the sole individual, and perhaps people that I explicitly say can also interact with my data. I should be the sole person who has control over my health information because it's mine. I should own it. And one of the very powerful pieces of Web3 is digital ownership of information, provable digital ownership of information. And being able to prove that you own this, like my own personal health ledger, like all the pulse readings that I've taken with my Apple Watch, all the blood pressure monitor readings that I've taken. I've got a little glucometer on me right now. I'm not diabetic. I just wanted to see like how my body responded to different foods and the spikes in blood sugar that I experience and how that makes me feel, right? So have all this information, like I have no doubt that companies are using it and selling it to make a profit.
Yeah.
Like no doubt whatsoever. I'm pretty sure if I read through like the terms and conditions, like the EULA, like that say we reserve the right to use the information that you give us anonymously. Like we won't attach you to it, but we will use it. It's like, okay, cool. Like I appreciate your product. I love that I can just scan that. I don't have to prick my finger or anything like that. And so that's really cool to me. But I do believe that from a health standpoint, the Vitals initiative that we were going after, I think that really is the way it should go.
Makes sense. I mean, I agree with that. I think that we need to be, the whole ecosystem needs to actually expand to be more friendly for the end user to understand that, hey, this is what's yours. You have to know who can access it. Are you okay with this person? Are you okay with that person? Are you okay, opting into a study? Because there is a huge benefit into having this data. I mean, there's a reason why people pay for it, because research is immensely beneficial for everyone. Mm-hmm. And with that research, you come out with new drugs, you come out with new methods of treatment, and all of that, yes, in the end benefits us, the end user, but there's a ton of profit that gets made during that process, like a ton of profit. Yeah. And it would be nice to be able to give that money back to the people who actually participated unknowingly right now, but right, you know what I mean? Because it's the people profiting are not the people necessarily that are, well, it's never the people who are like in trying these products. It's not going to be you that, gave your readings away for free. It's always going to be the companies that are looking to invest and spend the time to figure out how this information can be utilized. But I digress. Let's keep going. So about 8 months ago, you said you left your last place. And is that when you came into the Kadena ecosystem? Is that like you just parachuted on down? You said, all right, let me learn this thing? Or did you learn what was going on with Kadena and Pact before you jumped into this thing head first?
I think I did maybe 2 projects before I jumped in. The first paid work that I did on Kadena was for DocuShield. I built their NFT staking smart contracts and protocols so that people could stake the bonds. The bonds that they were minting. So I built that in like a week and a half. That was my first real foray into it's time to write a smart contract, time to make it work, time to communicate with it through a website, time to build a website. Honestly, I suck at building websites. I hate JavaScript, React stuff. I'm horrible at it. I love
It's amazing. It's so easy. I love how simple it is. It's needed for adoption. Let's be serious. Like it really is needed for adoption if you want to bring more people in. That's why like the Kadena JS is kind of cool. It's just going to allow people to move over really easily without having to know a whole lot more. Yeah,
and like I won't argue against the power that JavaScript brings and the universality of it, just because it is everywhere. Yeah. But for me personally, I prefer Dart and Flutter. Just a personal preference. Yeah. Like most of it is just due to like the CSS. It's like I feel like I'm trying to do CSS stuff and I look it up, I Google it, it's like you should do this, and I type that in and it's like it didn't center my text. then I try another Google. I'm like trying to like center my text vertically, right? I feel like I do it a different time, a different way every single time. And so I struggle with that.
So I will claim to be an old fart. Like I started playing with CSS when I was a teenager. So like I've evolved with it. So like all the, newer iterations, like, oh, this is so much easier. Oh, this is so much easier. Oh, this is so much easier. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I saw the development of it. So I got to actually like be excited about it as opposed to, I've helped a lot of people actually learn it. So when they first come in, they're like, why is this so complicated? This is stupid. Why can't you just write in line where stuff is supposed to be? I was like, that gets a little heavy, but it's easier and it gets a little heavy. It's like it's definitely like a hurdle that a lot of people have to overcome when they're. And I'll be honest, like I don't think anybody, with the exception of managers, should be a full stack developer. That's just my personal opinion. Like it's way too much for a single person to manage a back end and a front end. Like let somebody that knows how to make things pretty, let them make it pretty. And somebody that wants to focus on nitty gritty, the security aspect of things, let them work on the back end. That makes so much more sense, like, and I'll add one more, like, if you're really serious about having a legitimate project, get somebody to work in your infrastructure. Like, don't expect your one guy that's like working 12 hours a day do the front end, the back end, and make sure that you have your servers running the way they're supposed to. It's just way too much for one person. It is. It's crazy. And people expect people to do this all the time.
I know. I'm doing it for DadBot right now. It's like just I'm building my back end in AWS. I'm going to build a fast API stack. Got my websites, obviously. And then I have the game. And I'm just trying to set up like testing and CI/CD pipeline for all of it, just so it's gonna be fun.
So I love it. Like I love tinkering with things, and it ends up costing me way more time too. Like that's the other thing. Like if you're doing everything, it's always going to be. It takes longer because you're not focusing on, like, if there was literally one guy on the Kadena ecosystem that said, hey guys, I will set up your infrastructure. I don't know how to code, but I will make sure that the servers are up and running and everything's set up the way you need it to be. You can pay that guy way less and have everybody be super happy with the outcome if that's all that one person does.
Yep. Specialization. There's a lot of power in that.
For sure. And like the reason why I will not call myself an expert in any of the things that I just mentioned, because I don't spend enough time in it. Can I read your code, know exactly what it's supposed to do? Absolutely. Can I edit? Can I find, bugs and do all that? Yes. Am I going to sit here and say that I'll code 12 hours a day for you? No, that's not my thing. If there's something that needs to get done, yeah, I've jumped up and said, I'll take care of this. I'll help. But it's not what I am an expert at. Same thing with servers. Like, can I set something up on AWS for anybody? Sure. Is it going to take me longer than somebody else? Absolutely. Might I forget one thing or another here and there? Yeah, definitely. Because it's not what I'm an expert at, right? And I think a lot of times people try to put others on a pedestal, especially the more eyes you have on yourself. And I think that's cause for concern all around. And I will speak for myself. Being on YouTube, having a decent following really shows people's true colors. The more people grow, the more you get to see who they really are. Like, are they going to be a jerk that's like, no, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I have X number of followers. You should give me this because I have this many followers. Happens way too often, like all the time. People end up being entitled because they think they're better than everybody else because they got a little bit of attention. And I love when that happens because it allows me to cut those people off my life.
Yeah. That makes sense. The culling, the natural culling that occurs socially. And a boundary that you personally have set up. I can appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
And how long have you been coding for? Like, altogether?
I've been programming since I was 11.
Okay.
I really got into it when I was in 14, freshman year of high school. My high school offered a programming class, which was a huge blessing. Like,
That's awesome.
that was honestly amazing, absolutely amazing. And I started making games the moment I figured out how to write if statements, because I could make decisions based on the keys that were pressed. That was, man, all those moving squares. It's good stuff.
That's awesome. So how long? Okay, all right, and let's fast forward. I'm assuming you went to college.
Yeah, I went to college and I graduated in mathematics.
Mathematics.
I almost dropped out 2 weeks before just to make a statement.
Oh yeah, I dropped out way earlier than that. I was in college for a semester, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Well, 1.5. I passed my first semester, and like second semester I started, I was like, I can't do this. Like, get me out. Just get me out.
Yeah. I'm a rather good student, I will say. I'm good at memorizing things and remembering. I'm good at remembering things, and that makes me a good student, simply put. And I know
how long have you been working? Now since you've been out of college, did you just get a job right straight out of college and you got straight into the workforce?
So I started my own company in college, actually. So I was pretty much working full time while doing college full time on multiple jobs and opportunities. So I was a research assistant. Well, I started 2 companies actually. I started a company with one of my professors, who we were going to make. We were working on a. I actually got really far with this. We worked on a virtual reality classroom that people could hop into, and my professor could just spawn a whiteboard and spawn robots and reprogram the robots in the classroom, and students could hop in VR or on PC if they wanted to. And we kind of got it working at the same time COVID hit. And so he was able to use it, like he got permission from the dean to use our software for his class, for one of his classes.
Awesome.
So we were able to have like 40 students in there learning from him, programming their own robots, because they could spawn in robots too and program them in JavaScript, or not JavaScript, just Java, actually. That was a lot of fun. The other company I started was LZ Tech with my brother, and that was mostly to resolve and respond to needs that my parents' company had. So I've just been programming things like that for a while, and I felt obligated for a long time to stick with LZ Tech. 1, because I started it, right? 2, because it was family. And last year I finally decided I wasn't where I wished to be. I wasn't working on the things I wanted to work on. I wasn't pursuing the dreams that I felt were kind of maybe a interesting statement, like inscribed on my soul. And so I decided I would go, and I would leave it as gracefully as I possibly could. And for that, a little while there, I had been working on the Vitals project for Atalis Health, which is another one of my parents' companies. Again, I just worked for all these different things. And my dad is a very, very entrepreneurial. And so I would
what I'm hearing is that you don't have hobbies. And this is what everybody needs to understand. It's not a hobby, it's a business. Everything's tax deductible.
Yes. And this year I am going to tackle, all of my programming is definitely tax deductible. Because I'm trying to.
Those monitors you're testing out, that's not just for fun. That's not a hobby. That's business.
Yeah. The software I just bought was a ChatGPT. Yeah. Business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
GitHub Copilot. Man, GitHub Copilot's great. Business. Yeah. Yep.
You want to talk about something less fun?
Sure.
All right. So yesterday on the stream that you were doing with Katie Launch and the ecosystem.
Yeah.
I think, and I got to clear this up because I asked him. I was like, Alfonso, did you put that question up on the screen? He's like, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was Chris. He had the controls. And he was like, everybody's blaming me for that. But it was, I wish he would ask the question because I think it would have been a little bit awkward, but super fun at the same time. And I just, what do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Maybe I blinked. I'm not sure.
Here it is. So Sterling has gone on record saying he doesn't believe KDA can scale. I'd like him to explain why to Will, then hear Will's response. Like, this would have been an amazing question to go, live with Will.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Would you like me to respond now? We obviously don't have Will.
I would love to hear your take.
Okay. I've spoken to this quite a bit, actually. I guess I haven't responded directly, but I have spoken to this a couple of times, and I believe even in the talk yesterday, I spoke to this as well. I can't remember if Will responded directly to this or not either, or Emily, but effectively, Kadena Layer 1, you can add more chains, right? Really, I don't know how easy it is for them to add more chains, but you can add more chains, which means we'll classify that as provable or proven, that you can add additional chains, that you can scale the Layer 1.
Correct.
At the current point in time, from my own experience, it is difficult to scale a DApp on those chains. Effectively, Kadena can add 30 more chains, but my DApp will struggle at this current point in time to work with those additional 50 chains. And the reason behind that is because there's multiple, and we'll just list them off. One, each chain is its own shard, its own substate, its own little ecosystem of we're cruising. We are a choo-choo train, and we are going to solve these transactions, push these blocks through. It's going to be great. I don't care about any other trains. It's like, great. It's like you have your own store of information. But the moment I go from that choo-choo train to another one, I don't have any of the information anymore. And so all of these apps that require multiple inputs or the information to be available simply don't have it. A DEX would be a great example of this. I feel like a DEX would be very difficult to get it to work on multiple chains because of the price action on each chain kind of having an impact on. Yeah. You could play with that a lot. If there's 20 DEXs that are effectively the same, and each one has different liquidity, I'm not sure. I need to look into DEXs more, but I feel like just economically, I can just destroy that. People talk about arbitrage, I believe is the right word, between like KuCoin and Binance and stuff like that. And
you can have arbitrage between chains, absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like a DEX is a great example of something that just doesn't scale. There is no obvious way to just make it scale, right? And so this issue of, hey, my data doesn't exist or isn't available to me on all the chains, which means I always need to transact on the chain that has my information available to me. So that's problem number one, is you don't have information readily available. You're forced to transact on the chain that has your information. Problem number two is the cross-chain transactions will begin to break down as DApps get more interconnected. There we go. And this is, I'm trying to think of a good analogy or just description for this. Effectively, it's like if I want to swap between, going back to the swap example, I have KD swap on chain 2, I have our CADX on chain 1. I can't remember if that's the actual chains they're on, but if I want to swap between them and leverage both, I need to make a cross-chain transaction. Yeah. So it is 100% possible that I submit the cross-chain transaction, I execute the swap out of KD swap into the KDA, for example. I swap that KDA across the chain 1, and then I swap that KDA for something that CADX offers, like just KDX. And it is 100% possible that some step along that way, the transaction fails. And what do? How do you respond to that? Not to mention all of the different smart contracts you personally have to set up to make it actually work. I think there's 3. You need to have KD swap, then you need to set up an intermediary contract, then you need to set up an interface that can actually communicate cross-chain, and then have that same interface on the other side that it communicates to. And It's just a whole it's complicated. It's hard, and the developer has to think of all of this. So those are kind of the two main things that I see as Kadena can scale. The apps are going to struggle.
And the reason you said that you don't think that Kadena can scale was the main reason that you're leaving the ecosystem. Is that right?
Yes, I would say that is the main reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people heard, but you had a little monologue about what was going on and why you were leaving. And I think it was posted to Twitter Space, and it kind of covered what you're talking about now, because the lack of scalability, and it's not the blockchain you believe is right for you. I'm asking because I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. Let me see. So in my initial announcement, I'll be honest, my words and my clarity, I'll say, on why I was leaving weren't all there. I think that the best and most truthful statement that I made was yesterday, and thinking of it as an onion, where the core issue is I don't think that Kadena can scale as easily and as well as they say they can.
Okay.
Again, going back to that issue of Kadena can scale layer 1, but your layer, like your DApp sitting on top, just will struggle. And the difficulty involved with that. And just like I have a close-up look of how that's working. And I'm going to build a multi-chain IDO, which I think will likely be the first multi-chain experience beyond just the Kadena token that will be created on the Kadena blockchain. And
there is one other one, but it's not quite public. But go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I'm certain I'm not like, I don't want to ever claim I'm the first. I don't know everything. Same way, I don't want to claim I'm the best at anything. There's always someone better. There's always someone who's ahead of me. But like, I have no doubt that anyone building cross-chain transactions knows that it's annoying.
Of course.
I mean, first and foremost,
you're literally doubling the work every time you have to do a hop.
Yeah. Not only that, but like the wallets can't sign cross-chain transactions.
Yep.
So that just sucks. I can't complete anything. I have to set up like a little server to listen. And there's so many different tools that have to come into play to actually make it a seamless experience. So all that being said, like the core it's hard. And I don't think that it can scale as well as they're saying it'll scale. I believe that Kadena, being completely honest, is a lot of it is just theoretic at this current point in time. And I'd probably say the same thing about Marmalade. It feels like they took, from my own perspective, mathematician, right? Lots of theorems, lots of proofs, all this good stuff. People coming up with all these ideas. It feels like Marmalade, this is a tangent, but it feels like Marmalade, they kind of took a theory and said, let's just try it. And it looks good in theory, but in practice, it really sucks to use. Like, it just sucks. But Kadena feels like this, and the theory is slowly being proven, right? Will it work? Will it not? The hypothesis is we can shard proof of work into multiple chains, and we can scale that way. Mm-hmm. We are going to see if that hypothesis is correct as people try to build multi-chain experiences on Kadena. There's chainless experiences on Kadena. So that's the core of it. Layer 2 is, I do feel that the people at the helm kind of missed the mark on a lot of things. And I don't want to throw shade or cast like anything like that, but
you've done that already. Just keep going.
Yeah. Well, just they need a GitHub guy. I talked about this yesterday, but the communication, I feel, and the projects that they're working on and focusing on, I don't understand the red tape that they have. I don't understand, there's lots there that I don't comprehend as far as what they're allowed to say and talk about. But from my perspective, there's been lots of promises that have not been delivered. And I shouldn't say that is the only reason. It's effectively lots of little things for me. I've submitted pull requests that I feel have improved the documentation. I've seen pull requests that have sat there that I have needed personally for like more than 5 months. QuickSign, the KIP QuickSign is an example of that. I've seen conversations just kind of grind to a halt because no one will just, like, there's no, I guess, consensus among the people who are trying to make decisions. I feel that in a lot of ways, Kadena they don't understand their own structure and who's in charge of different things. For example, Marmalade, I really don't know who's in charge of Marmalade or who to contact, like, to message regarding Marmalade. So I keep asking Emily, she's like, I know nothing about that. It's like, how do you not know anything about it? Again, specialization is good, but it's a protocol in your chain using the language you created. I feel like you'd understand it a little bit. So just lots of little things that have kind of, they're disheartening. And being honest, if I believed, like, again, if that core, if the technology itself was phenomenal and outstanding, I would push so hard. I would.
So I guess that was going to be actually my follow-up question. Like, what is something that could have pushed you the other way to stay with Kadena?
That core. If it was easier to scale, and if I saw a clear path to easy scalability with dApps, I would totally, absolutely stay.
Got it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Can I be candid? Like, I want to make sure you get to hear what some other people think as well. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I think that might be helpful for you long term.
Yeah. I'm going to migrate to another room that's a bit more quiet.
No worries. Do your thing, man. No worries at all. You're not completely wrong. And I've had conversations with other people about what you believe in and your stance. And every time I say something, it's always, yeah, Sterling is not completely wrong. I don't think he sees the full picture of it, but he's not wrong in saying that it's not as clear. It's hard to understand who's in charge of what. I will 1000% agree with you that I think project management is an area that is lacking within within the core team. Just to have somebody that's keeping other people accountable, going, okay, what's going on here? What's going on here? When you said you asked Emily what's going on with Marmalade. Emily shouldn't have to know what's going on with Marmalade, but Emily should be able to say, well, you can ask X person and they'll point you in the right direction. They don't have to be the person dealing with it, but they need to know who's got that monkey on their back. That's a big deal for scalability and progress. Now, I totally understand your decision to move out of the blockchain space, well, not the blockchain space, but Kadena specifically. And I would never say that you're doing something wrong, because your decision is your decision, and you're going to bear the consequences of doing that, which is totally fine. I can't leave the Kadena ecosystem. Do I think that some things are not as clear as they should have been? Absolutely. But what we don't always take into account is, with so much regulation going on, everything that's been happening, this is almost a guarantee. I guarantee you they want to stay above board. And it's not even a stay above board in the sense that they want to be legal with the things that they're doing. I think they're going the extra step. And that is something that they're, very cognizant about. The no pool launch is a perfect example. No pool, launch was 100% geared towards the marketing aspect of green energy and proof of work blockchains. I think it was a great idea. Will every miner be able to take advantage of it? No. Is it going to benefit the home miner that wants to get a get a cheaper paperweight like my KD5? No, but it's going to help the way people look at blockchain technology. And we forget as end users sometimes that just like the last company you're in, they left the consumer realm because the money wasn't necessarily there. The dealing with customers is hard. It's hard to acquire value out of them, and that's where I've seen the core team focus on. It's not necessarily on you, on me. It's not, on the miners. It's not on the end users. It's on business propositions that are happening behind closed doors. It's why you don't see, a no pull Twitter until the announcement. They are literally launching things out there when it's all ready, when they want to. And going back, using the no pull as an example, this has been in the works for months. Nobody knew about it. So taking that into consideration, how many more things are in the works that we have no idea about? Is it disheartening for the end user? Absolutely. Is it hard for us to grasp the concept that there has to be confidentiality because you don't want to create a lot of competition around the one company that they're supporting? It sucks. But you have to, at a certain point, ask the hard questions and expect a partial answer, and then do what you're doing and make the decision. Is this good enough for me or not? And for you, it's not. For me, it still is. Doesn't mean I'm happy with the answers I get, but I'm content with where things lie, because your biggest gripe is you can't scale. It's hard for you to get adapt to work across all of these chains. All it takes is one person to go out there and say, you know what? I'm going to deploy a solution that everybody can use. And I'm just going to take a little tiny gas fee every time they transact. And that person will freaking rule the Kadena ecosystem.
I don't know how you do that. Being 100% honest, I'm not sure what. Just speaking to the last statement, I don't want to get down in the weeds though.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you there are people working on a solution. I will say that. There are people working on a solution.
And I have no doubt. Again, I fully expect that there are many people who are building things to solve the problems that I see. If I see it, I know without a doubt that someone else sees it. And honestly, the hope is that someone else has responded to it, right?
I don't think they have. I think they are, right? It's not ready. The solution is not ready.
Yeah,
they're working on it, is what I mean.
Yeah,
they're looking to solve the issue that you bring up. I don't think it's ready for prime time. The same way that I say that I don't think Kadena is 100% ready for prime time. But I rather be amongst builders than shillers. You know what I mean? It's much better company. The conversations are way more educated, and the people that end up coming into those conversations, they're mad, they're upset, they get really pissed off as far as what goes on. But 9 times out of 10, the reason they're upset is because they care enough to be upset, not because they're like, I put my money in this, now I'm losing it. That's the worst place to be in.
Yeah. So I understand the goal to focus on B2B. That makes complete sense. I understand the regulations and like Kadena needing to keep it close to chest, the things that they're working on. What I don't understand, and this speaking directly, again, my core reason doesn't really change unless the protocol itself changes. You can build tools on top, but you're still not going to resolve that core issue. The protocol itself must be upgraded in some way to facilitate not needing to copy all this data around. But speaking to just the layer 2 of Kadena and my interaction with them, I understand the need and the desire to focus where big money is and to build these partnerships, no pool being an example. What I don't understand is I feel that these people will need the same tools that I need to build their incredible resource. And I, Sterling Long, have not seen tons of, KIPs that I have needed personally sitting there for 5 to 6 months. That's just a single interaction. But these people who are going to be building, they need those, right?
Sure. Supposedly, I don't know which KIPs you applied for.
Well, no, QuickSign, for example, is a requirement for people to use Kadena. You cannot use Kadena to its fullest extent. You cannot make chainless interactions unless you have QuickSign. Or at least you can't do it. Well, no, you just can't. No, you can't do it and have a seamless experience. Because otherwise, my Kadena code tool, for example, can deploy and run code on any chain you want, and any number of chains you want with one click of a button. But
right.
XWallet pops up, and you have to click sign for every single chain, right? And that's not a great user experience, but it works, right? The QuickSign kind of gets rid of the necessity for all of that to happen, but not completely. So I don't know. I recognize that Kadena is working hard. I recognize that they've improved. I recognize that they're doing way better than they were when I got here. I recognize that the ecosystem in and of itself is in a better place than it was when I got here. But I still feel that they still need to rise. And maybe they're gonna say, here's 17 different things we've been working on, and these are all awesome, and I'm totally down to be proven wrong. I'm totally down to have people all of that happen, and I'd still be totally fine with my decision to go. And I'd celebrate their success. But for me right now, and I said this yesterday as well, I simply cannot stay on Kadena and say this is where I should be, that this technology is the best, that it is blowing everybody else away. And obviously, there's some logical fallacy on my side where it's the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
But you don't know their water bill.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. See? So, but I haven't ever lived in another house. I've never mowed someone else's lawn. I have only worked with Kadena. I've committed one smart contract on Ethereum. So in terms of experience with blockchains, Kadena is the only experience I have. And I feel that I must, in order to truly respond to, is it good? I need more experience.
You're gonna get decently far. No, there's no doubt about it. I will say that just from experience in the space. You can 1000% make a boatload of money writing smart contracts for an EVM. There's no doubt about it. People are hunting, devs out like crazy. It's just there's a huge need.
I'm not going to EVM. I hate Ethereum.
Wherever you go, there's plenty of opportunity out there, right? That's the thing. Why do you hate Ethereum, man? You gotta go chat with the ETC people.
ETT? Sorry, that was an alarm.
ETC.
ETC?
Yeah, Ethereum Classic.
Okay. No, I just don't like Ethereum because they don't have a gas station.
Everybody's gonna have something, right? That's what I'm always gonna go back to myself. It's everybody's got issues. There's no shortage of issues. But what can I partner up with? What can I be a part of now that has a future if one or two hurdles are overcome? to me, that means a whole lot more. And it's like you said, it's not you get the grass not being greener on the other side means a whole bunch. I mean, that's your FTX stories of the world, right? It's your Terra Luna. It can look really good, all while being a Ponzi scheme. It's not. It doesn't always have to be all that's cracked up to be. So for that, like, that's why I mean, like, you're gonna get decently far. There's no doubt about it. Like, that I can guarantee you. But that ignorance that we all are walking around with, because you just don't know what you don't know, can be super detrimental if we believe to have all the right cards all the time. And it's the way I try to live and portray the things I talk about. I'm sharing what I know. Actually, I'm sharing about 10% of what I know. I need to know way more than I actually share. And I always have to leave room for there's plenty out there that I still don't know that can be heavily detrimental for whatever it is that I am doing as well. So I need to make sure that I keep my house in check when I'm making decisions. When I say I'm gonna make a video about X, about Y, I'm gonna, consult with a company that's doing a conference in Europe or something in LA, like all of those things, I need to keep my house in check, saying I can help them, but is it the best thing that I'm doing? And then on the flip side, and this is where I think that you're gonna learn quite a bit, is which bridges do you keep and don't burn down? Because I've worked with plenty of people that are straight up a-holes. Do I talk about them? No. I've worked with people that have done very bad things. Do I go out there and publicly humiliate them because I could and I have enough information to do so? No. Because a bridge to those people unburned can mean a new relationship tomorrow. And that's across blockchains, that's across infrastructures, it gets wild. The types of connections that you can make simply because you might have known something and you chose to be the bigger man in the whole picture and walk away without saying a word.
Yeah, those last statements were very interesting. And being completely honest, that's what I'm trying to focus my efforts on. For example, my challenge to Randy, Will, and them to rise, I promised myself I would never do that again. I would never in a public forum challenge an individual to rise. I might challenge a company. I'd be totally okay with that. Like, as a whole, the community as a whole, like, come on guys, something must change here. And I always I will say that, so that's a learning experience for me. Since then, I don't feel that I have ever called someone out, except for maybe Cameron, because I thought it would be funny. That was, he has good input if you get past the raging. Like,
he rarely ever rages. He just rages towards you.
Yeah,
he doesn't rage very often. It was just, I find it funny, and I've appreciated his input when he actually boils it down to, like, here's like a tactical thing you could change, and here's the outcome of it. Like, just compare your current state to, like, if you made this change. It's like, yeah, you're right. You were totally right, Cameron. But it took like 15 messages for you to get to that. So I don't know, that I won't be doing it again. I won't be singling out individuals, and I assume there's nothing wrong with singling individuals out, but the focus, and I know you try to talk a whole lot of inspirational talk during your spaces and trying to, get people to a good place. And that's so, like, I admire that a lot. People need it, right? Sometimes people need more than just a self-help book. They need somebody to tell them they can do it. But that's exactly it. Instead of a challenge, it's encouragement. It's, Sterling, I have no idea what you were thinking when you made those statements out loud the way you did those. They were way more harmful than they could have been. They were not what the overall ecosystem needed to hear. And you are possibly quite wrong because you don't see the full picture. And all of that could have been changed if instead of saying that you challenge people, instead of saying that this is not ready, you would have simply said, I want to encourage Will. I want to encourage Emily. I want to encourage, Randy, whoever, to step up to the plate and make this right. Make it work for all of us, because we are your biggest cheerleaders and we want to see you all succeed, because when you succeed, we all win. That's the difference between somebody bitching and a leader.
That was my goal.
I don't think anybody heard it that way.
All right. So my personality is I will challenge the crap out of you if I feel that you are not acting to your full potential. And I personally don't see it, like, for me, that is encouragement. It's me calling you out. Like, if I feel that you are acting dishonestly, I will challenge you to not do that.
I get it.
So,
I totally get it. And that's what I'm trying to explain is, like, your words can be a double-edged sword. They can do just as much damage as it can do good. It's like, what side are you going to strike with, right? And it's the difference between challenging and encouraging. I will stand by that any day, that somebody that just challenges people, they will get a good response. Not all the time and not in masses. When sometimes, people need to be rallied up. Not everybody responds the same way. I know the people, and I work with my history, thousands of kids who were shy, couldn't speak in public, and I wasn't even a teacher. I was the chief operations officer of the company, but I worked day in and day out to make sure that those kids, grew. Some of them, they needed to be challenged. Not the majority of it. I would say the minority of those kids needed to be challenged. Most of them needed to be encouraged and told that you're going to fail. It's going to suck. But the other side is a lot better. When you get through this, you're going to learn what it means to lose. And you learn a whole lot more losing than you do with winning. And that the reason I say encouragement is way, way more beneficial is because you're going to have way more failures in life than you have successes. The people that you see succeed all the time, they're the vast minority. And those successes are the minority of the things they've probably worked on. There's plenty of people putting others down around there. And I personally refuse to be another one. Will I disagree? Absolutely. But will I always end on a positive note that I think that people can be better, like you were trying to say? Yeah. Because I think that's what's going to motivate this entire ecosystem to move forward. Not only Kadena, but the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. Because, look at FTX. Look how much money he was able to get. All he did was walk around, smile, and shake hands. That encouragement, man, it works.
I guess I've thought of both of those as somewhat equivalent.
Yeah, no, and a few people do. Absolutely. But it's having that understanding that not everybody thinks the same way that you do. I don't, personally, I love getting feedback. Positive, negative, I don't care. You can tell me I'm sucking at something and I'm going to thrive. That's a learned skill. That's not everybody. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of hurt being healed for you to be able to process that. It takes experiences where somebody has literally, beat you down and you've got to go, wait, if I change this, then I can be better. And then you start to understand that not You start learning to take all that input, positive and negative, and go, okay, what can I do with it? What can I do with it? What can I do with it? I didn't have the easiest childhood growing up. Quite the opposite. And it's that deciding factor. What do I do with it? Do I let all my struggles keep me down? Or do I choose to rise above it and be better, be more, be somebody? Some people never get past that point. Some people will always stay crushed down and not be able to get up. And others don't always encounter a lot of difficulty in their lives. And it's where you see all these first world problems. I was just in a stream with Atari and Misting Crypto. That was the exact conversation. It's some people can never get out of where they're at. And yes, they maybe don't have the best circumstances, but what the heck are they doing for themselves? Because that's what matters. Like, your circumstances are irrelevant when you start to rise up and do something. And the reason I bring those kids up before is because I got to be there for them when nobody else was. When they've never experienced failure in their lives, I was able to be there when they failed. And it was incredible to see them fail. I got so much more excited when they failed than when they won, because when they failed, I got to build them back up and encourage them and let them know that, hey, this is temporary, but the decisions you make now are going to affect the rest of your life. So make good ones. And the same goes for everything we do in life. Can't change what happened in the past, but you can use it to build upon it. So do I think you're making the right decision leaving Kadena? I have no clue, dude. Like, I don't know if maybe you're going to be way happier by leaving it. But what I can tell you, in my opinion, is that the way you went out, although with good intentions, has caused a very negative ripple. And people are not going to talk about you soon enough in the Kadena ecosystem. I probably will, because I want to use examples of people that are outspoken, that want things. And like you explained it to me, you want things to be better. Maybe they don't know how to communicate that right, but that is the end. That is the end goal that you're looking for. So I really appreciate where your heart's at. It doesn't mean that the words that came out of your mouth exactly match that all the time, but hearing from you what you want to see, it feels a lot better.
Well, I'm glad that, I should say, spoken word is generally imbued with emotion beyond that which is read. And I would, boiling everything you just said down to my comprehension of it, I would say that encouragement is a challenge with connection. You can challenge anybody you meet, anybody you see on the road. And you could also see each of those challenges as an encouragement to be better. Obviously, if the challenge is coming from a positive point of view, like, I see that you're struggling, like, I see that you're just kind of like down. Let's say you're walking in the street and I'm challenging you to be better. You could see that, like, those words could be encouragement. But encouragement is a challenge based on a foundation of connection and trust. Like, I cannot encourage you and have you actually feel anything from that unless there is some connection between us. And I might be able to establish a connection in that initial interaction. And I would also argue that some people need to be called out. And they don't need, hey, you got this. They need, dude, you are acting like an effing idiot. And you need to get back in that ring, change your attitude, and move on. I know that for me, I don't respond well to, you're doing so good. You're doing great.
Oh, you don't have to lie to people.
Yeah.
No, don't lie to people. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's like, dude, this sucks, but it can be better. That's encouraging. You know what? I'm not saying to pat people on the head and say everything's going to be okay. It's not a matter of it's not a matter of like encouraging their bad behavior or lack thereof, any type of behavior. It's encouraging them to do the right thing. It's steering them in the right direction. That's what I'm referring to more than anything else. Because I can sit here and say you're an effing idiot for saying things the way you said them. I don't think that's beneficial, because you're going to be super analytical about this, and you're going to go, okay, well, let me make sure I change my words next time. I need to focus on the things that I can or cannot say, the way that I challenge people or don't challenge people. That's all that's IQ, right? That EQ has to elevate for you to be able to target others efficiently and effectively. So when I'm telling you that I thought that the words that came out of your mouth were not exactly helpful, the reason I say that is not because of the exact words you said, but the feelings, like you were saying, that were associated with it, the way that it was portrayed. Yes, sometimes it's changing a word here and there, but it's the feeling that's conveyed that matters most. Again, I will say a lot of the same things you said. I don't think Kadena is right now ready for prime time. I think there's a lot of things that need to be built on it. I think that we still have a road ahead, and I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I want to see it through. I'm not going to just pick up my bags and go because I don't like, that the grass is not that green yet. Especially with mining right now, dude. Like I love mining, and seeing Nervos take over Kadena as far as the most profitable crypto miner, that like, come on now. Like that makes me a little upset. I'm not gonna lie, but that's okay.
Nervos?
Yeah. CKB. Okay. Well, there you go. Trying to find out which one you're going to go to.
I'm going to Radix. I already know where I'm going.
Oh no, but that's the thing. It's the difference between an encouraging word to somebody and a challenge to somebody. Sometimes they need it. I would say that the challenge does work at times, but it's not the right time every time, especially if you're not trying to burn bridges. That's where it's at.
Yeah. I don't feel that I've burnt bridges on my way out. And I also don't feel like I'm packing up my bags and just going.
You're cleaning up now. No, like if you would have literally shut off when you made those statements, you would have been.
Oh yeah,
I know. But you didn't.
Well, again, I said that the challenge was also for myself. Like I needed to rise and start delivering more. So
most people won't hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard it.
That's fine.
Most people won't hear it.
I don't care.
That's what I'm saying.
From my perspective, I don't care what most people hear or see. I will be ruthlessly true to myself in every situation that I can possibly be in. And I will learn and have learned from the Rise tweet. I personally feel that, again, and I said this that week, is that we are entering into a phase of it is no longer sufficient to simply encourage. That is my personal standpoint. I believe that the world economy is entering a phase where it is no longer sufficient to simply encourage. You must stand by the people in the trenches and get crap done.
Yeah.
And so, like, my rise wasn't just to them. The challenge was to myself. And again, like, I'm going to have to think on the difference between an encouragement and a challenge, because I believe that I will always challenge. It's a question of how I do that. And if it's coming from an encouraging standpoint of, I am here, I am with you, let's go, right? Let's get excited about this because there's some cool crap we can do. Yep. That's, like you said, that's probably a better way to challenge somebody than just calling them out on social media. And again, I wasn't able to do that because written word. So I don't know. I believe that I have been true to myself, that the tweet that I sent out was true to me. And whether or not people saw it as me bitching, I don't know. Like, if you come and talk to me, you know that isn't the case. So come and talk.
You're the analytical person, so I'll try to close up with this. Let's throw numbers into the whole thing here and make it even more fun. With everything that you've done inside of the Kadena ecosystem, do you think that you've been more beneficial or detrimental?
What metrics are we using in terms of numbers?
There you go. I knew you were going to ask that question. So, and this is where it matters. Let's talk about the actual development of the blockchain itself. But there will be a follow-up to this one. Go ahead.
Yes.
So you've been more positive. That's good. As far as the overall global perception from end users, how do you think you've impacted Kadena?
Positively.
And why?
If people understand more about how Kadena works and the problems that it faces and the problems they need to solve, I would argue, from my point of view, that that is a positive impact. And if they choose to stay, they now understand more of the problems that are ahead of them, that they will need to resolve, and they're still there. So they are no longer ignorant, and they have still chosen to remain where they are and to push. That is good. And one of those people is worth maybe 10 other people who weren't incredibly committed, who were lukewarm, who decided to go.
That's a really, so I can't tell you how you should feel. So what you just said is completely valid. But the one reason I agree to disagree with you, yes, all of those things are important. It's good for people to have an understanding of where the blockchain space is, where Kadena stands, the pitfalls, the things that need to be worked on. But by the fact that you said these are all the issues and I'm out, takes a very negative turn. Because you're not saying these are things that can be solved. You're saying these are things that I'm not willing to stick around for. But I'm glad that you look at it as a positive, because that means that you want people to come in and actually be a part of this ecosystem, even though it sounded super crappy the way it came out.
Yeah. I've never said that they couldn't be solved.
But it's not worth waiting around for them. So how can you be a positive guiding light to people when you're telling others that I'm out because of these? You see what I mean?
Yeah. I don't see any problem with that personally. It's a question of choice and where you.
I agree. No. And yeah. Again, I'll go back to that every time. Yes, it's your personal choice. Is you do. It's like you do you, boo. Like whatever.
Yeah.
People make decisions like that all the time, and a lot of people try to hold it against other people. And it's like no. They can make their own decisions. They're grown up. They can decide whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah. Which means the impact is neither negative nor positive in that context.
Oh, no. So the impact of your words are negative at face value. I think that the impact long term, when people look at it, they're not and they looked at it in depth is different, because the difference there is going to be, okay, so this dude doesn't like these things and he's heading out. Yeah, maybe I should be heading out too. That's the first question that comes to mind. Now, if you look into it and you go, okay, so Sterling has been, a dev with Pact for how long? How long did he last here? How long did he last at other places? How long does it take for this individual to give up? Then they get the real answers. Then they can make up their mind with the correct amount of information. Because that's the way people should analyze others' decisions. Not only at face value, because you said it yourself, you weren't trying to be negative with that announcement. But at face value, looks pretty crappy. But if people dig in, maybe they will see the light, like you're saying.
Yeah. And I expect every person who reads the title of my book to not comprehend the decisions that were made.
There's a book? Man, I gotta get a book deal out of this.
Yeah. There's lots of titles. This happened like in my work with Core Blockchain, where like people take a quote and they feel that they understand it at face value, but I need to break it down for them, and I'm not going to have the time to break it down for every person. So it's just like,
weren't you charging for more hours than you were actually working with Core? Wasn't that?
No.
It didn't take as long, but you're still charging the same amount.
Yeah, I do quotes. I don't I break things down in terms of hours, but I learned last year, that I can estimate based on hours, but I won't charge on it.
That's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
I agree with you 1,000,000% there. But as soon as you start saying this took me X number of hours, the client will look at it as an hourly rate as opposed to a quote.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's part of my learning, right? I jumped into this freelance space 8 months ago, and I have made so many effing mistakes. And Core was one I have barely been able to make ends meet as far as how much I've been getting paid. And so I decided, okay, this isn't working. Obviously, charging an hourly rate, there's some breakdown in terms of how many hours I'm actually working.
Hourly rates suck, especially for devs, because you can't charge for your experience if you're charging an hourly rate. If you wrote something in the past and you're going to copy paste, guess what? You don't get paid for that if you're charging an hourly rate.
Exactly.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I'm saying is that it's just another example where the communication broke down between you and somebody else. You were trying to communicate something, they understood something differently.
Yeah. And I hopped on a call with him today and I smoothed that over. So
that's great. Hi, Chase, if you're watching this.
Yeah. I don't, from my point of view, I don't feel that like you said, I had built a lot of the code and infrastructure already to make it work.
Yeah.
And I had built it for the purpose of serving Core. And I sent him the quote of how much I felt it was worth. And he said no. So I have other job opportunities that are ongoing that are willing to pay me that. And
sure.
I will pursue them. And I'm passionate about those jobs. So I will work on those.
I'll close with this, buddy. I really hope you're dead wrong about leaving Kadena, while at the same time hoping you do really well wherever you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's all I can wish for this space, especially with the prices dropping like crazy right now. I really hope that it allows all of us a little bit of time to build and focus on what's important. Because at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for.
I personally don't see it as right or wrong in terms of Kadena. I just see it as, here's an observation. And you're right. I personally don't want to build a blockchain. I want to build on a blockchain. So I will go somewhere where I feel that I can effectively do that.
Cool.
And it might not be
totally
Radix. Yeah. We'll see where I end up.
It might change tomorrow. I get it. Yeah.
Or in 8 months. right? That's the current time frame for Kadena. We'll see if it happens.
Please don't light a match on your way out, okay? Just that's a little advice I'll give you. Don't do that.
All right.
Because you're gonna see your Twitter numbers, stay very static as people drop off, and people are basically gonna know, oh, Sterling, yeah, don't want to listen to that guy. Personally, I know how to read your tweets now, emotionless, and take them for exactly what they say.
I hope we're not emotionless. More just energetic.
Dude, I would not describe you as energetic. I don't know where you got that one from, but this is that right there. I don't see energetic anywhere. Honest is like a very high quality trait that I associate with you, but conviction is another one, I guess you can say. You stick to your guns. You follow through with what you think is the right thing to do, regardless of how it might impact something else, somebody else, another project, another blockchain, which is an honorable thing. So get that energy and shove it somewhere where it's going to be powerful.
Yeah, I am tired. I'm not a good long-term speaker.
That's better. I'm not a speaker at all. I make it up as I go every time. So,
same, 100%. I'm just saying, talking like this.
Talking's hard.
Yeah, makes me tired.
Talking's hard. Yeah, no, it's exhausting every time. I have to talk. I have to record videos. Everybody's got their thing, and that's what I'll say about all of us. You don't have to be good at everything, like I started out with. Just focus on what you are good at, and that's what's going to take you to the next level. It might be, maybe it's sometimes explaining something in a way that a 3-year-old would. I love doing that because most people that are getting into the space have no clue what's going on around here. But sometimes it's, being open and willing to have hard conversations that others are too afraid to have, and ask hard questions and speak your mind without the concern of being reprimanded. Because it's like you said, if you have that conviction, dude, nothing will stop you in your mission to do whatever it is that you want to do. You got to have that conviction. So people that have strong convictions, challenges work really well for them. Others are going to get pissed off. So, let me challenge you to save your tweet before sending them. Give it at least a minute or two. Or if it's rough, overnight might be a good idea.
Yeah.
It's you learn after some time, and I learned in my teenage years after getting into a lot of fights to be, slow to speak, because I was always the smallest person around, so I got beat up a lot. I learned that I can hurt people really bad with my words, really bad, and I have to hold my tongue a lot of times. And it's the only way for me to build relationships, because people suck, like big time. But there are sometimes really good things inside of really sucky people. And if you can bring that out, again, the space has become so much better. So I hope you find what you're looking for in the next 8 months at your next place.
Me too. I still don't know what it is. We'll find out.
Yeah. And I will also say this. I hope you find a mentor, man. I hope you can, find somebody to latch onto that can pour some wisdom into you and help you avoid those pitfalls that you talked about, because we all experience them. We're either experiencing them firsthand or secondhand. And experiencing them secondhand is a load easier than having to do it yourself. Crashing and burning, getting beaten to the ground is never fun. Both figuratively and literally from personal experience.
I enjoy both. I'm a little bit of a masochist. So, not that I don't enjoy learning from other people's experience, but that I have no problem crashing and burning and asking stupid questions and saying stupid things.
For sure. And will your family eat the next day is always at the top of my mind. Will my 2 kids and wife be okay if I make these decisions? And that's where the buck stops with me. I need to make sure that I'm taking care of them first, right? So when I say learning, when you're able to learn what it's like to avoid bankruptcy, and you're not the one in jeopardy of of being bankrupt, and you're working through with somebody else to help them, that's a much better learning experience than losing everything you have and being your household. So that's what I mean. So you can still experience it and work towards something with somebody else and not be the one in jeopardy, because it's never fun. Ever fun.
Yeah, I guess I've never gotten to that point, but I have looked for mentors. I actually reached out to 5-ish people, asking them like through Twitter or just personal connections at events that I've been at. Like I've looked for mentors. I have never found someone in the crypto space that personally.
The good ones are busy.
The
good ones are usually busy. And I guess, since I am going to post this thing, I'm not even going to cut it, dude. Like, if you're watching this and you're looking for mentorship in the blockchain space, just be there. Show up. The people that you want to be mentored by, don't say, I would like to apply for a mentorship with you. No, bother them, because give it a couple of weeks. They're not going to see you as a bother. They're going to see you as the guy who wants to learn. And that mentorship process will start naturally without you even having to, fill out paperwork. Let's say they're going to become your go-to that you can always trust and rely on. So never be afraid to DM people. Never be afraid to just reach out and ask questions. The last couple of days I've been helping some guy with his miners just because he DM me on Twitter. Like I've spent hours with this guy just because he reached out, and I try to do that whenever I have free time, because man, I'm gonna go into this. I'm sorry, but I think I just gotta say it. I'm not looking to be rich and famous in this world. Do I need more money? Yeah, a little bit, just $1 more. Do I need more followers? Sure, just 1 more follower would be great. But at the end of the day, if I can inspire and instill something in other people for them to be my legacy, I'm happy. The reason why I stayed at the companies that I've stayed at for as long as I did prior to going, full-time crypto, were because of the people that I saw grow, because of the people that I saw develop and become incredible human beings. They don't follow, I would say over 90, 95, if not 99% of them didn't take the route that I took. They didn't, go to community college and drop out because it was stupid and dumb and go work for a Fortune 500. Quite the contrary. They are going to Ivy League schools. Like, most of them are going to an Ivy League. And that's okay. The reason you mentor somebody is not to have them be you. The goal with mentorship, with parenting, what you want is not for them to be just like you. You want them to be better than you. And if I've done that with at least one person, I'm happy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the only reason I stayed at LZ Tech for so long is because of the people that were there. I didn't find enjoyment in the work, in what I was doing, in how I was doing it. The only reason that I stayed for so long is I wanted to serve my brother. I wanted to serve my best friend. I wanted to teach them correct ways of thinking in terms like technologically, right?
Yeah.
And also correct ways of just thinking about life in general. Many of them struggled with depression and would commonly just kind of disappear off the face of the earth for weeks. And I'd have to go and find them. Like, are you okay? And then just have a sleepover and just talk with them until 2 a.m. in the morning. But I am purpose driven and I'm very emotionally driven, which conflicts a lot with the analytical side of my mind. You state that I'm very analytical, and I would say I do appreciate, being a mathematician, I do appreciate strict definitions, right?
Yeah.
But I am where I am, and I choose where to go based on the people that I'll be able to serve.
Yeah.
So my departure, I hope, is complete, meaning there are no loose ends, that I don't just leave. I finish my work for Dadbod, at least to the point where there's an MVP, you can play it. I finish the multi-chain IDO that I promised I would do. I be as honest and truthful and forthcoming with Core as I can possibly be. And then I go learn elsewhere.
You're going to be okay, buddy. You're going to be just fine.
I know. I'm consistently excited by my ability to choose what I do.
Yeah.
Even if it hurts others, it's never the intention.
Okay. I'm glad you finished that sentence. Even if you hurt others. I was like, oh, okay, not intentionally. Okay, no. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's better. That's better.
Never mind. It's never my intention to hurt others, but I recognize that people come to rely on me to build things for them.
Yeah.
And my decisions are thus impactful to what they wanted. Core is a great example. I have literally done everything within my power up until this point to try and find new developers, teach the new people that he's trying to onboard, and even up until this point, I have built the system with the intention of knowing that I'll walk away. So everything up until this point with Core, I've done my best to act truthfully and honestly with it, and to learn. Lots of learning.
Man. Sometimes. Well,
thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna chase you down, buddy. Just so you know, I'm gonna figure out where you go and how you end up, just for funsies, and see how things are playing out. But good luck, honestly. Thanks for being willing to talk it out and actually get what you wanted to say out there. To say that it's not a matter of challenging people or trying to make them look bad, that it is a matter of trying to get them to do something and take it to the next level, because that's what we all want.
Yes, it definitely is. I guess I can finish by saying all of Kadena and all the entire community and the tech and the company themselves, there are so many amazing places you guys can go. There's so many cool things that can be built. All of the statements that I've made about the difficulty, personally, I am a little bit saddened by my own self and not taking up that mantle and charging forward with it. Because, again, I love challenges. I love challenges. And building on Kadena is hard. It's a challenge. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's hard. And the places that Kadena will go through consistent and intentional effort cannot be understated. I've appreciated my time here, truly. I will do everything within my power to make the most of the next month that I have, to build a multi-chain IDO, to finish DadBod and get it to a point where you can play it. And then I will go and I will learn elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sterling. Like I said, hope you have the best time of your life in your next chain and whatever life brings at you. Sorry about the crappy camera quality. I just want to make sure you guys got to see a conversation, a real conversation, not just something that you might hear on the internet. Like, I'm trying to give you a little bit of insight as far as how these exchanges should take place. And it's unlike a lot of the things that I share on the channel, but I figured you guys should get like an insider scoop as far as what's really in my mind, how I try to help people even when I think they're wrong. At the end of the day, this blockchain space is not going anywhere. Maybe Bitcoin will drop again and again and again and again, which is fine. I'm not here for the price of Bitcoin today or tomorrow. Definitely not here for the price of Kadena today. And I have way more thoughts that I'm going to share with you guys. I figured I'm gonna do another ecosystem, Kadena ecosystem video this week or upcoming week, because I want to make sure you guys understand exactly where we stand, and try to separate the FUD from facts, separate what's real and what's not real. And something I didn't actually include in this video, after I stopped recording, I basically told Sterling, hey dude, this is how you can have a seamless chain transaction. And yeah, at the end of the day, like, there's a lot that needs to be built still. And I will say it again, I don't think Kadena is 100% ready for prime time, which is why I'm so excited to be a part of this ecosystem. So you guys are fantastic. Let's roll the credits. I almost forgot. I got to do a drawing for the last video. Sorry, I got all caught up. I actually had to reset up. But let's do that giveaway. So we're giving away a helium miner, and we're giving away some swag from MXC. For you guys that said that I didn't share enough, I try to be honest as possible with what I was doing with MXC, guys. So like I said, I don't know if it's right for everybody to pick one of these Neos up, but I'm doing so. If y'all want to use my link to get yours and you think that this network has, a good future, hey, do your thing. But by no means am I telling you guys that you should do it yourself. I have my own strategy the way I'm doing this. So yeah, don't just, go in blindly. And let me go ahead and do that pick. Tune, Helium, and MXC Foundation. I'll keep running them into the ground. Hilarious. Cool. So that was the first giveaway. So Tune, open a ticket on Discord. I'm going to give you all of that swag from MXC. Now, I had another question. I want to know how many miners I actually showed on screen. And I did the Panther. I think that's one I started with. I did the Deeper Network H&T miner, which doesn't work, but it is an H&T miner. We did the Doosan H&T indoor miner. Then we did the Rising HF. This is not a case. This is an actual miner. It is honestly the beefiest unit I have ever seen. Yeah. And then we had the mouse site, and finally the Sense Cap. So how many was that? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 units. So, and I asked that specific question, put in the number of how many miners are put in there. So I'm going to pick another winner. Spottyco. What? You win, dude. Open a ticket on Discord and I'm going to get you hooked up. I know you're not sure about the Neo yet. I'm not sure about the Neo 100% either, but yeah, like I said, let me be the guinea pig. You know what I mean? And if here's what I'll do too. If there's enough commissions for me to, give you guys a Neo away for free, I'm going to do that. You know that what I do here on the channel is not, for my benefit. It does benefit me. And this is, I guess, after hours chat with action. YouTube does not pay very much, and that's okay. having this platform, having you guys watch the videos that you watch, allows me to grow further in this entire ecosystem, which is kind of wild to think about. So YouTube is not really paying the bills. Absolutely not even close. But it allows me to connect with really good individuals that might need help building things, that might need help figuring out how to run events, how to do all sorts of things that I have been doing in all my life. And that is how I am able to generate revenue out of this channel, not necessarily taking value away from you, quite the opposite. I try to give way more than I receive. And if you're wondering what the crazy noise is, we got a wind warning here in Southern California. Things are going nuts. So yeah, that's the wind outside kind of freaking everybody out. But let me get going so I can get this video out to you all. Thank you so much. I will be back with some cool stuff for all of you. Yeah, and that's a guarantee. I'll see ya.